A series of high-profile legal cases got our attention this past year, from New York to L.A. to Perugia, Italy, even State College, Pennsylvania.
Legal analyst Jack Ford is with us this morning to take a look back at Crime and Punishment in 2011. I think we've covered all of these cases with you as well, Jack.
We have. It kept us very busy during the course of this year.
Kept us very busy. So the most recent one, of course, and the one we're still talking about because it's ongoing, Penn State, Jerry Sandusky. Where does this stand right now?
Right now, what you've got is the case has moved forward as much as it can before the next step, which is a trial. Now, a lot of people are looking at this saying, wow, this case is at breathtaking speed. We can expect a trial within a couple of months. No. You can expect a couple of trials because Jerry Sandusky probably charged separately, tried separately. The two Penn State officials will be tried separately. But you're talking about at least a year or so, maybe even longer. They're complicated trials. It takes a long time to get them put together. In the meantime, you're probably also going to see a vast array of civil lawsuits coming out of this, and they'll take even longer to happen.
Long process. Another big case of the year, of course, was Casey Anthony, who is currently serving probation right now. What's the big takeaway from this? Because she was really kind of, I think a lot of people really felt she was guilty from the get-go.
They did, and we had all talked about this for a long time. And I think the takeaway is we should not have been so surprised that Casey Anthony walked out of that courtroom not guilty of the murder. And the reason is that people were confusing the notion of proving that she was probably a terrible mother and maybe even a despicable person, according to a lot of people's opinions, with proving that she committed a murder. It is very hard, not impossible, but very hard to get a murder conviction when you can't prove a cause or manner of death. And you remember the medical examiner here said from the beginning, given these unfortunate circumstances of deterioration, they couldn't say how the child died under what circumstances. And if you can't prove that, you know, I handled probably 30 murder cases as a prosecutor and defense attorney. I never remember seeing one where you couldn't prove how somebody died. You might have, and the jury said, we're not saying we thought she was innocent, and in our gut, we might have felt something, but the law said, unless you can prove it to us beyond a reasonable doubt, we can't say guilty.
They're just playing by the rules, which they're supposed to do.
That's exactly what, and sadly, they got vilified for doing that, which was unfortunate.
In many ways, such strong reactions to this. Also some really strong reactions to Amanda Knox, who is now home in Seattle after spending years in prison in Italy.
And the fascinating thing about the Amanda Knox case is, as much as we admire our justice system, and we should, it's a marvelous system, has flaws, but every system has flaws. If Amanda Knox had been tried in this country, and with the same evidence against her the first time around, a jury had said guilty, I'm not so sure she'd be out right now. The reason is that the Italian justice system, very strangely, their appeal process is basically a brand new trial. You know, not here. Our appellate process is you go before a panel of usually 3 judges, you argue legally what was wrong. She got to bring in new witnesses. The court brought in court-appointed witnesses who really swung the deal for Amanda Knox. But that's the fascinating thing here. I mean, the Italian justice system, I'm sure she prays daily to thank them for giving her that complete second chance at exoneration here. But it was a fascinating story for a lot of reasons.
Next up, Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Was this another case of a rush to judgment?
You know what, you probably look at it and say yes, except from the prosecutor's perspective, I'm sure their reply is, well, what could we have done? You know, he was literally on a plane heading back. And would we have gotten him back? Would France have extradited him if they charged him? You know, people are not so sure. So I think they did what they had to do. Turned out the case was not what they thought it was going to be in the beginning, and people who try cases for a living know that happens once in a while, and it was just this extraordinary unraveling of circumstances.
Real quickly, Jack, we have about 10 seconds, but Conrad Murray found guilty of manslaughter. When do we expect him to be out?
You know, that whole system out there, it'll be weeks or months rather than the years that he's been sentenced to.
Everybody, we're watching for that. We'll talk to you about that in 2012.
All right.
Jack, thanks so much.